Hey yo, what's happening? Let's talk about it. Robert Whittaker is that dude. The UFC had the nerve to think that an unranked fighter would actually pose a challenge for someone who is regarded as one of the greatest middleweights of all time. Yes, we saw Robert Whittaker get beaten up by Dricus du Plessis and a lot of people started writing him off, but listen, Robert Whittaker has learned from that fight. He came back in the Paulo Costa fight and he looked good. So going into this fight, for Dana White and the UFC to feel as though that Ikram would be that dude to give Robert a challenge and maybe think that this would be the opportunity for Ikram to become a household name or a superstar. You even had Khabib saying, yo, take your chances. Robert said, nah, we are not doing any of that. I am him. I am the best. Just because you guys have seen Israel Adesanya knock me out and Dricus du Plessis finish me, it doesn't matter. I am still that dude. And he knocked out Ikram Aliskerov. Personally, I thought Ikram would pose a bit more of a challenge, but listen, I am here to tuck my tails between my thighs, whatever it is that dogs do when they're embarrassed and say, I was wrong. Whittaker proved me wrong. He demolished Ikram. He showed that there is levels to this. You can't take a dude who has only had 2 fights in the UFC, who is unranked, and expect him to pose a challenge for arguably the number 2 guy in the middleweight division, the number 2 guy in the UFC, arguably the 3rd greatest middleweight of all time. Whittaker proved he is still in his prime and he is still that dude. And the more I think about it and the more I let it marinate and contemplate what happened, I'm starting to think that Whittaker would have done the same to Khamzat Chimaev. Now you can call this recency bias or you can call this reactionary bias or whatever it is, but what challenge or what threat would Khamzat pose for Whittaker? He would try to take him down in the first round or so, and if Whittaker could survive or can or would have survived that onslaught, it would have been curtains for Khamzat because Whittaker would have put it on Khamzat like he has never seen before. A dude like Kamaru Usman, for all his greatness, we know that he is not the best striker in the UFC or in the welterweight division or even in the middleweight division where he contested against Khamzat Chimaev, but even Khamzat was able to piece up Khamzat. Now imagine a polished kickboxer, a polished striker in Robert Whittaker getting the chance to piece up Khamzat. It would have been curtains for Khamzat. And the more I think about it, I'm starting to think that Khamzat probably knew, because yeah, Dana said he was violently ill and we were all worried as fans and concerned, but then his manager or someone in his camp came out a few days later to say it was food poisoning. At this point, maybe the dude just gets extremely nervous before a big fight, because you pulled out because of food poisoning and you had the whole world feeling as though it was fatal, it was tragic. Man, Khamzat knew that Whittaker was going to put that ass whooping on him. And a lot of Khamzat fans will come out and say that I am absolutely dick riding Robert Whittaker or I am underestimating the potential and whatever it is that Khamzat might present to Whittaker. But man, if Whittaker shows up the way he did against Ikram Aliskerov, there are very few fighters that can beat him. You have to be extremely strategic. You have to fight the way Adesanya fought in their 2nd fight. And I just don't think Khamzat has the patience, has the temperament to make it a slow, high-level IQ fight in which he tries to piece Whittaker or he tries to outpoint Whittaker. Khamzat is going to try and go for the finish to prove that he is this monster, and if Whittaker stops that onslaught, or if Whittaker had stopped that onslaught, trust me, it would have been pieces, it would have been curtains for Khamzat Chimaev. But let me know in the comment section what you guys think. I just feel as though Whittaker is that dude, and ideally Dana White said he should be next up for the championship, and he might even be the backup to Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis. Till the next one, peace.